Hello and welcome to this week's NIKEI video newsletter from insightsupport.com on Monday the 3rd of March 2008. NIKEI is where we analyse the key indices, the CAC, DAX, Dow, FTSE, NASDAQ and NIKEI, and using that analysis from looking at the chart over the years and more importantly over the last few months, we look to see where the indices may go over this coming week. So here we have the CAC 40. As we can see, we've got various supports and resistances which we've drawn in over time. And here we have the resistance at 5,000 and a support at just around about 4,700. One of the things we've noticed just over the past couple of weeks, probably a bit more, but around about 6 weeks, was we've seen quite a degree of consolidation, and sometimes a consolidation at the midpoint within the broader consolidation between 4,700 and 5,000. What we are seeing is obviously a continuation of this consolidation. As soon as we start to get to the midpoint between those 2 points, 4,700 and 5,000, we see a bit of a slowdown. So we're more than likely to see a very similar slowdown with the CAC 40 at the moment at around about that same point. Still opportunities there perhaps for bounces and retraces within that relatively broad range for the CAC, but you'd have to check your spreads that you'd have to pay on that to trade it effectively. Moving now on to the DAX. Similar story with the DAX. The only thing is there is a likelihood or a possibility of it breaking down through support, which is around about 750. There is a resistance at 7,000. Not so much any real consolidation at around about the midpoint, but we do have sort of a room there for bounces and retraces. But there is a bit of momentum being generated by two very bearish candles over the last few days. We're likely to possibly see a breakout below that if we get a break in this support, which we need to keep an eye out on. If that does happen over the next few days, then we're likely to see a further retrace down to 6,400. Moving now on to the Dow. The Dow, as we all know, has been trying to break this 12,750 resistance for some time. Each time it fails, it retraces quite considerably down to a support at around about 12,200, really 12,100, 12,200, and then looks to consolidate and then bounce back up again. We do have an incredibly strong bearish candle. More likely we're going to see support generated around about 12,200 and then a return to a bit more consolidation, much like we've seen previously, and then another attempt within possibly the week, certainly early next week, of a break or an attempt to break that resistance at 12,750. Now onto the FTSE 100. Similar story to the CAC and DAX in that we have consolidations at between 5,800 and 6,100 with a midpoint at around about 5,900, where we're seeing some quite tight consolidation between those two upper and lower points. Similar story, we're likely to see consolidation within those ranges. Possibility of trading that as a bounce and a retrace as it hits either resistance or support, but you would obviously have to check your spreads that you'd have to pay on that to see whether it was worth doing. The NASDAQ, not as exciting, probably the least exciting of them all. Support at 1,700, resistance just above 1,800. Quite tight consolidation, does break down towards support at 1,700. Not likely to move at any significant point over the coming week. More likely to see continuation of this tight consolidation for the NASDAQ. Now finally onto the NIKEI. Interesting in that we have this hugely strong bearish candle breaking through the resistance, or just touching the resistance as it were, Looking to see a further break in there. If we do get it, then we're likely to see a continuation down to that would look or appear to be around about 12,500. So it could go short. Certainly got a long. A huge amount of momentum being generated by the shorting markets opening and much lower than the previous close, showing signs of a huge possibility of some downward moves there. Get the break at 1300, then there's a certain possibility, almost definite possibility of it landing at this support, and then the possibility further still of going further down to 12,000 from there. So NIKEI, probably out of every one of the indices at the moment, is one to keep a bit of a close eye on at the moment. The others, the NASDAQ, certainly is consolidating. FTSE, Dow, DAX and CAC are consolidating within relatively broad ranges, so there's possibilities of trading those as either bounces or retraces, depending, of course, how good the spreads are that you get from your broker. Okay, that's this week's NIKEI video newsletter on Monday the 3rd of March 2008. We'll be back next week with an update on what's been going on and some more analysis. Thanks very much now. Bye-bye.